As I told you earlier, the course is divided into 3 tests. Each test consists of a set of lessons. What I want to do now is talk about how a lesson is composed and what you should do to prepare for each lesson. So I've opened up lesson 5, production possibilities, and we're going to walk through what that lesson is and see what the pieces are, how it's put together, and what you should do to get ready for class. Each lesson will start with a little copyright information. Please don't share these documents or the links with people who are not taking the course with you. You may also send me a message if you find an error or a way to improve my class. I'm always hoping to improve the notes or the presentation. And if you're taking the course at VCU, you can earn bonus points by sending me suggestions for improvement. Each lesson also has a little picture of me. There'll be a couple different ones, and when I'm wearing the bow tie and looking a little more official, this is one that shows me at the end of a bike ride on the C&O Canal towpath. That's milepost 0 in Georgetown, Washington, D.C. The meat of the lesson begins with a section that says prepare. This is a nice outline of the steps you should follow to get ready for the lesson. Each lesson is broken into sections. This lesson has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. Each section has a title, so you know what we're going to be studying. This section here is going to look at efficiency and growth. The earlier section talks about opportunity cost. There'll also be pieces in the lesson that say expand your understanding. These are going to be problem sets that build upon the material that you've studied, and in many cases may extend a little bit what you've learned. Doing the problems is key to doing well in this class. Your brain is like a muscle. The more you use it, the better it works. Economics is a subject that is learned best by doing, and the way you do is you do problems. I'm trying to give you lots of problems to work through. I'm trying to give you lots of answers. Your role is to do the problems and compare what you do with the answers. If you merely read the question and read the answers and say, oh, I know that, you may know it or you may not. The way you can learn, if you're understanding the material well, is to do the problems on your own and then compare them with the answers. If you have trouble with the problems, that's great. Then when you walk through the answers, you can learn how to do the problems much better. But knowing whether you know the material, knowing whether you can answer the question or not before you look at the answers is crucial to helping you learn the material. So, bottom line, each test consists of lessons. Each lesson consists of sections. So let's look at what the first section is going to be an introduction. Some introductions start with a little preface video. They will all have a map. A map is a nice graphical representation of what the lesson is going to be about. So production possibilities, we'll talk about scarcity, opportunity cost, inefficiency, growth, and how to drive the frontier. I'll have a video where I describe that map, and you can also click to it and see the map itself. Then there'll be an introductory lecture. In this case, the lecture is split into 2 pieces. I've got introduction and main points. Most lessons will combine these 2 lectures into one slightly larger lecture. Again, these lectures will be a screencast where you'll see the notes and hear me talking about and reading the notes to you. If you want to see the notes themselves, you click on the link to the notes and you can see it. So a lesson consists of sections. Each section consists of questions. The first question in every lesson is, where is this lesson heading? I want to give you an idea of the main point or the purpose the ultimate goal of the lesson early on so you know where we're headed. In this lesson, I tell you what, it shows how to drive a production possibility frontier, et cetera, et cetera. The second question is always going to be, why would a student care? I want to give you some motivation for learning material other than it's going to be on the test. The material is important. The material can help you make better business decisions, and the material can, in many cases, help you live a more productive, fulfilling life. And I'm going to try to tell you why this stuff might matter. And my hope is to inspire you to do the work, because I think doing the work is an important ingredient to being successful in this class. The third question is always going to be, what are the main points? A nice quick summary of the main points that are there. I'll always end them with the last main point is, what can the successful student do? Where I try to lay out specific activities or learning goals that I have for you. And if you can go to the end, at the end of the lesson, if you can sort of say, yes, I understand how to do all those things, you're probably in pretty good shape. If you look at these things at the end of the lesson and say, I don't know what's going on, you're probably not in good shape. Well, if you've been reading the lecture, if you've been reading the notes, and now you can't remember where am I in the preparation, just go to the return preparation button, click it, and it'll take you back to the section where you were. So we've done section introduction. The second section talks about the production possibility frontier. Here, it tells me to read some material at a man queue. So go read the material on man queue. It's got a video from one funky teacher that you can watch. It's got a lecture that I've recorded, and again, notes that go with it. You can read the notes as a substitute for the lecture or supplement to it. I encourage you to listen to the lecture and read the notes. Use them as supplements for each other, not as substitutes. The more ways you hear the material, the more ways you touch the material, the more ways you see the material, the more likely the material is going to stick with you. John Wooden, a famous basketball coach, was fond of saying that repetition is the final law of learning. One of my colleagues says repetition is learning. And there's some optional material. It's pretty good. It's a little bit long, but sometimes I'll have optional material if you want a little bit more. So this doesn't quite make sense, or I'm really interested in it. There's often some optional stuff that you can do on your own. Again, if you go to the notes, you can read the notes. They're the notes for the second section. Again, notice that the notes are always broken into questions. Each section answers questions. This section only has one question to answer. And then we can go back to the preparation. We've talked about L05 production possibility frontier. We can go to the next section, which is about scarcity. Therefore, we ought to read some in man queue. We've got some videos to watch. We've got a lecture that I've recorded and the notes, some optional material. Lesson 4, or the next section is opportunity cost. Read, watch, optional material. Next section is efficiency and growth. No reading. I'll have stuff for you to watch. The last piece of the preparation here says expand your understanding. Now, some lessons will have expand your understanding earlier, but most lessons, in fact, all lessons will have an expand your understanding section or sections. Let's click on that and see what it looks like. So notice it says, answer these questions before proceeding. When you've answered the questions, watch. I've recorded answers to these questions for you already. You can always stop the answers if you want to check a piece of it. Look at the first set of answers, stop the video, and then proceed to answer the remaining questions on your own. I've got some links that take you to some graphs that I've developed. But so this is your chance to work on your own and then compare your answers with, quote, the correct answers. Doing this will, one, indicate how well you understand the material, and second, maybe more importantly, help you learn the material. So I've got some information about 3 acres of land and then a bunch of questions I ask you. I ask you to fill in a table, plot the combinations, questions about how much corn you grow a certain amount of wheat, et cetera, et cetera. So these are all questions that relate to the material we covered earlier. These questions will help reinforce what you've learned. It'll make very specific the general material that we talked about earlier. It'll help you understand if you're on track. And I think it's going to help teach you the material. Working through the expanding understanding questions is very important. Work the problems and then look at the answers on the video. That will really help you do well in the class. This course does require work. The course involves lots of independent learning, and independent learning does not occur unless you put in some effort. I've worked hard to try to make a path for you to learn a lot. If you put in the effort, you're going to do just great. I'm confident. Well, after you finish the expanding understanding, if you want to go back to the preparation, again, click on the return to preparation link. It takes you back to where you were. So you can always, when you prepare for each lesson, just go section by section. Do what you're supposed to do for that. If you read the notes and then click on the link to take you back to preparation. It'll take you back to the section where you were and then move to the next section. Just follow through. Do what you got to do for section 1. Do what you got to do for section 2. Do what you got to do for section 3 and continue that until you've finished section 6.